All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming. In the last video, we began chapter 2 of this Murach text where we're creating a simple one-page ASP.NET web application. So I'm going to continue with that. Remember, we're trying to kind of mock this, which is a future value application. All right, so we left off, it looks like on page 55. So catch up here. And we were how to work with a model. All right, once you're sure the controller and view are working correctly, and they do appear to be, you're ready to add the model. Then we can modify the controller and the view to work with the model again, so they'll all work in conjunction with one another. It says when you're done, the app should get the data from the user, pass the data to the model, use the model to perform the calculation, send that results back to the controller, which will send the result of the calculation to the view. So as they say, a model is a regular C# class that defines the data objects for a page, typically stored in the models folder. Okay. All right. So we're going to, in this figure, the model class has a name. We're going to call this, it looks like, future value model. All right. It says to keep the name short. Some programmers prefer to drop the name model, but we'll leave it in there for now. Okay, this is going to show 3 properties, and it's going to have a method that's going to be used to figure out the future value. Okay, so this is what it's going to have in it in just a minute, and I'm going to put all that in myself. So here's the 3 variables: a monthly investment, a yearly interest rate, and the number of years. All right. And then we calculate the future value and be able to return it. So let's go in and do that. So let's go back into our program. And I can close this. And I'm going to, for now, I'm going to uncomment this because this is what we're going to be putting in just a moment. Oops. Now we get an error when we do that because there's nothing in the models yet, but we're going to put something in right now. So we're going to add. All right. We're going to right click on models and we want to choose add class. And we're going to call this future value model. Click add. There it is. And we couldn't call it future model value. You can't have the class the same name as the namespace. So let's put all this in. Public, decimal, monthly, investment with our get set, public, decimal, yearly interest rate with, again, a get set, public int years with a get set, and then we're going to put in our public decimal calculate future value. I'm taking this right out of the book on page 55. We're getting an error because we haven't returned anything yet, so we will in just a moment. So int months equal years times 12, decimal monthly interest rate equals yearly interest, yearly interest rate divided by 12 divided by 100. This over so you can see everything in here. All right, decimal future value equals 0m. Oops, 0m. All right, for int I equals 0, I less than months. I like to use plus plus, I, but they use I plus plus. It works the same way. future value equals future value plus monthly investment times one plus monthly interest rate. That's going to be monthly. Okay, then fix that. Then finally, we want to return the future value, which should get rid of that error that we had. And it did. So again, a model is a regular C# class. This is very similar to the employee thing that we did earlier when you think about it. A model can't have the same name as a namespace. Okay. So let's save that. Now if I ran it, it's going to look still the same because we haven't opened up the bridge of communication that we need in order to do this. So, all right. Next, I'm going back here to the book. So how to add a view, Razor View imports page. As it says, it makes it easier to work with models and tag helpers. Most web apps include this page. Procedure in 210 shows how to add this. We're going to add a file named _view imports.cshtml to the app that contains Razor directive. We may already have that file. If we do, we'll just modify it. First line, as it says, will import the namespace for the model classes. It says if you don't, you can still use it, but you'll have to fully qualify it. So it's a shortcut. The second line will enable all the tag helpers available in here. So let's see if we have a Razor View imports file or not. We want a views _view imports.cshtml. See if we have that. Views. There it is. All right. So we need the using the future value models. Good. All right. It says most apps, again, have a Razor View that imports page, makes it easier to use the model classes. Okay. This basically says we want to be able to use those helpers. All right. So we've got that. It was already done for us, okay, because we used the template. So save all. So it basically got the stuff in there for us. So next, we're going to come in. This is going to be a shorter video because I have an appointment this afternoon. If I can, I'll come back. Okay, but I'd like to get this strongly typed view in here and stop with that. All right, it says you use the @model directive to bind the model to the view. It's called a strongly typed view. So you're going to see that in just a minute. The model directive at the top of the page, or the top of the view, binds the view to the model class named future view model. After binding it, the view uses the ASP.4 tag helper to bind the HTML elements. As a result, when the user enters values into these input fields, which we're going to create shortly, and clicks the Calculate button, ASP.NET Core MVC will automatically update the model with the values that we put in, so the controller can access these. All right, or we're going to be able to basically do the calculation. So right now under views, we have this index.cshtml. I think that's the one that we're going to end up using here. So let's bring that one up. All right, we've got all that stuff in there. Here it says all of the CSS from figure 214 should go in there. We'll worry about that a little bit later. Okay, so it's not going to look very pretty right now. But in the body, we've got future value calculator. We've got this. So with what we put in here before, because this was all hard-coded, I'm going to get rid of this. All right, I'm going to get rid of that. Suppose we could try to comment it out. This is a CSHTML file, so we might be able to just do this. Like that. Okay, but that was what was in there. We're going to replace that with this. Let's give it a little space in here. All right. So we don't want to do it like that. We want ASP-4 equals yearly interest rate. Yearly interest. This is the title. Rate. And then we can end our label. Now it doesn't like this. ASP-4 equals. It says an expression tree may not contain a dynamic operation. Well, at the top, I think we need to add this line, and I think that's why we need to say at model future value model. Okay, so that got rid of the error. All right, then next, oh, I guess this should be monthly. In fact, let's do this. All right, this will be monthly investment. As will this. And this will change to this is going to be our input. Okay. Okay, so those two are done. We need years and we need future value. So let's copy these down. And let me hit enter first. All right. And the last one is future value. And this is something we're calculating, so this is not, it's going to look like this. And the div, finally we'll have a button. So we're building an HTML page basically. All right, so like I said, we're building the HTML page here. Okay, so what this is going to end up looking like, ideally, in just a few minutes or on the next video, is going to be something like you see here. So that's what we're making. These are the labels. These are the inputs. This is another label. This is just the read-only calculated future value. We want to have a calculate button here and a clear button here. And that's what we're creating right now. So we use the at model at the top to bind the model to the view so it's able to understand what we're talking about. It's called a strongly typed view. Tag helpers rather are used to automatically generate attributes for some of the HTML elements that we are creating. All right. Now I'm up to page 60, and unfortunately, like I said, I've got an appointment this afternoon, so I've got to leave right now, so I'm going to stop it right here.